What's going on, everybody? This is Jacob Shoup. You're watching the Tom O'Brien Show. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. We have another, down day in the market. We're significantly down right now. You have the SPY off about 1.66%. The composite off about 2.27%. The Dow Jones Industrial trading off about 1.48%. With the Russell Futures off about 2.33. You had kind of a fake out in the beginning of the day, and then just a massive sell-off. We're gonna have Steve Rhodes on today. Maybe we will find out if you're seeing some of that, pre-market pump up in other currencies, which will kind of explain what was happening. I know that was going on a few months ago, where the mornings were fantastic, and that's because Euro and other guys were buying the market. We were selling into them. Let's see what else. You have crude oil off about 2.06%. Seems like there is going to be potentially an output increase in the OPEC countries due to pressure from Trump. So we'll see what happens with that. But you're trading off about 2.05% right now in the crude futures. Of course, I'll say, if you're liking that side, always like a drip here. This is from our friends over at Direction, up 9.42% today. That, of course, is an inverse oil there. And then, of course, you have Gush if you believe we're going to see a trend reversal. So interesting stuff. Check all that out. Gold coming back up, probably just a little bit of a sell-off after making all-time highs there. Trading up 1.59% at 2,893. If things continue to go the way that they're going, meaning if Q1 for a lot of these guys is not as good, you're still getting growth, but contraction of it. I think you'll start seeing a better fundamental argument for the gold miners getting some attention. Should be interesting. Of course, a lot of this, everything we're dealing with right now is very dependent on what happens tomorrow, right? You have the State of the Union address tomorrow. The tariffs are supposed to set up tomorrow. That's for Canada and Mexico, and they're increasing tariffs on China. If that, gets resolved relatively quickly, I think that does kind of take some weight off of the market, and you get some movement to the upside. There are some positive views from a lot of the larger banks. This is on some weird stuff. I was talking with someone this weekend who works for one. They're like, we see equities are not necessarily bad this year. As to what this was, I was talking to him about, and he says, yeah, there's just a lot of uncertainty. That's what we've been talking about here, right? There's just so much uncertainty with what's going on. Trump is kind of trying to set the board, I believe, in the way that he wants it to be set, so he can operate from there. If we make the minerals deal with Ukraine, and hopefully we do pass that, I think this market has a lot of upside. But I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now. I think inflation is still very high. Of course, you're getting some info from the Atlanta Fed saying that they're seeing nearly a 2.3% decrease to the downside this quarter, right? So, that's massive contraction right there. So we'll see what happens. Consumer confidence is low. This might be a time where the Fed steps in and says, hey, we might offer some interest rates. Because what you're seeing here is really liquidity leaving the market, right? And I would venture to kind of assume that there's not, many undertakings right now on projects, let's say in real estate or anything along those lines. I think liquidity will become a little bit scarce going forward, and I think that's due to the uncertainty that comes along with Donald Trump. One of the things I will say as well is we had that hurricane, we had two hurricanes that came in this area and really wiped out our beaches. You had these guys haunting around being like, hey, we'll buy your home for, cash. And obviously it was a vast, discount they were trying to buy it for. And that had actually been going on until about a few weeks ago, and they all just stopped. It all dried up. So, I think there, is somewhat, again, I've been saying it constantly, of a liquidity fear. I think you're seeing that reaction now, which is obviously contributing to that. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but a lot of this is dependent on what Trump says, on the State of the Union. One of the things I did find very interesting is he said yesterday that we are going to do the the cryptocurrency reserves, looking at Cardano, Ripple, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and you had an amazing rally in Bitcoin and these other currencies as well. Cardano shot up quite a bit, and at least as it stands for Bitcoin, you're right back down. It didn't hold, so there's this kind of flush going on. Yeah, 5 days, I mean, really from what he was saying, so you're still up 2%, right, on the usual trend from Trump saying that yesterday, but we'll see what happens. I mean, it's just a weak market, you know. I thought it was very interesting that they kind of gave it up today. But again, I think that is people's fear, right? You're getting some extra liquidity. Okay, let me get out of this thing, man. I don't know what's going to happen. I need to have cash. If this really does crater, okay, that's fine. I've protected my, money, and then I can also buy at that bottom, right? So that's kind of what's going on. Additionally, I was looking at some of these like event contracts for tomorrow. Kind of nuts. You can check these out. It's an interesting way maybe to hedge yourself. I don't know. I was looking at it in that kind of light. But what will Trump say at the State of the Union address, talking about crypto, Bitcoin, Joe Baby Drill. They have a lot of other options. Best AI this month. Epstein document declassification. It's interesting. I always find these binary contracts a little bit interesting. I mean, what they've essentially come out to be is kind of like betting, right? But the way they're really starting out was almost like an easier way to kind of hedge any risk you had. Early in the beginning, it was talking about, will there be any kind of increase in, let's say, like lumber or something, right? So guys who are in that industry, if they, know they might not be getting enough this month or whatever it might be, can kind of hedge themselves that way. So it's kind of interesting. Let's look a little bit. Palantir just flipped red. Okay, you're up a little bit today, maybe about 2%, trading now at 84.35. You did have an analyst letter come out for them saying, where is it? Benefits from the streamlined U.S. government spending. This is Wedbush, whatever. I don't always take what these guys say with, I take it with a large grain of salt. But I do think, we were talking about that. Just this had this move to the downside, and really it is the broader market kind of affecting it. And these stocks that had more umph to the upside where everything was growing are obviously going to be more sensitive, to any price movement, whatever direction. But with Trump saying we are going to decrease some military spending, this is kind of what I was trying to say with it. It doesn't mean that things like what Palantir are doing get cut. I mean, it could mean that, but it doesn't inherently mean that, right? It's just about perhaps better efficiency. Palantir could even get an increase, but if there's these kind of black holes in the budget, you take it out, you still, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And it's kind of the way I was looking at it. So we'll see what kind of develops with that. BR trading at 84.26 right now, the PE of 443 still, market cap of 189 billion. Folks, stay right there. We'll be right back with Steve Rhodes right after the break.